Alright. Survived the first night here at the new place. It's actually, well, it's bad and it's good. More bad, well, I don't know. The person that owns this place definitely isn't into it, but sitting on a gold mine, the place could be absolutely stunning if they had any kind of upkeep at all. It's really weird. It's really weird to watch. But the ocean's right out there. There's one pool. Nobody's cleaning the pool. Whatever. It is what it is. I got a whole bunch of emails. I got a bunch of screenshots. I got everything. And my mind's going blank. Usually it's fired right up with something to talk about. I'll probably figure it out as we go. I'm sure, right? Now, this is titled, excuse me, oh, it's fairly recent too. Bear Lake, BC, private story for now. A private story. Got a couple questions. Well, maybe I can answer your questions right now. Well, I got you right here. I won't share anything personal. I have more questions than a particular story, although I believe these people live amongst us in a very long story, very short. Me and a friend attended taxidermy school in Arizona. We met a couple who were attending the school. They were Bear Lake residents, wanted to use their tax. Okay, I wonder if you might know them. No, I don't know them. They're great friends. I'm just curious. Nope, don't know them. But I'm very familiar with the area, and they live right in the middle of it there. I also know a guy you might converse with. We reside in Arizona. Okay, man. Email me back again and a little more about your friend who I might converse with, all right? Arizona, it sounds like where you said you are. There's some huge elk there, isn't there? Email me again a little more detail, would you? Please? Please? If you get time. Now, excuse me. A little slow in getting prepared today. I get back up to the top of my column. Come on, what's going on here? All right, what do we got here? Mark, this is red. Fresh out of the inbox. Bangs, tracks, and breaks, oh my. It's the title of this email. Hello Steve, I recently discovered your YouTube channel and appreciate your straightforward style and willingness to explore experiences involving the Sasquatch species. After listening to a few hours of other people's adventures with Sasquatch, I decided to share my own, in hopes of perhaps provoking further insight from you and or your viewers. Alright. Feel free to share everything I write, including my first name, and I'll leave it to your discretion about sharing the photos I will be discussing and have linked to. Ooh. I've always had a strong connection to wildlife and nature, even as a teenager. If I was out in the woods driving or hiking, and there were deer around, I could always spot them when others couldn't. Which I think had something to do with how sensitive to energy I am. It was sort of funny when I went hunting with my dad and I could see game before they did. A group of men to one woman, I've also had various experiences which most people would find hard to believe, and a strong connection to helping others and Mother Nature. In the summer 2024, my husband and I moved back to the Shuswap and began working with a project that incorporates this connection. That's in British Columbia for those who don't know. I share this because since committing to this project, my husband and I have had a few unusual encounters with wildlife, and I believe this is no coincidence. But the icing on the cake, so to speak, was our experience with what we believe to be a Sasquatch. No doubt, there's a bunch of stuff going on there right now. A little backstory. My parents have owned 6 acres in the pristine Shuswap area for over 30 years. Its acres are mostly treed and backs onto a mountain, and for a while we had only the access to a logging road that travels up and over the mountain. We've camped on the property for 8 to 10 years prior to my parents building their home and retiring there. The space definitely has a special energy to it, but I've only had a couple of unique experiences the whole time I've been there, up until now. In early October, we moved our trailer from the project area to my parents' property and stayed in it until mid-October, when my folks left to vacation down south. We have a young, large, 90-pound Bernie Doodle, and as he likes to bark/communicate a lot with us, we figure staying in the trailer with him would be a better option for my folks. Anyhow, the first night we were home, we all had dinner together and my dad was sharing one of his hunting stories. And I remember what the project leader shared with us from watching your channel about hunters and Sasquatch. So, I shared stories of people experiencing the bang, bang on trailers, cabins, and even residential houses. My folks brushed it off. And as we headed off to sleep that night, I remember feeling something different with the energy. And I don't know how to explain it, but I knew I wasn't in a normal sleep state. and was walking every 2 hours and was waking every 2 hours on the hour. The second time I woke up, it was around midnight and somewhat dark in the trailer bedroom, and I noticed something was observing us sleep. It was an energetic being inside the trailer, kitty corner on the bed, and I could make out shoulders, a neck, and a face, which I noticed the eyes were wide on the face, not like a human face, but more primitive, and it had long, thin, black hair. I had a sense this was a young adolescent being. This awareness all happened within seconds, and as I've experienced seeing things before in a spiritual sense, this didn't alarm me, and I had zero fear. I quickly went back into an altered state of sleep. Then around 2 a.m. I was awakened by two bangs on the trailer. I noticed the motion light was on, and I said to my husband, "What was that? And why didn't Ritzer pronounce riser? Why didn't pronounce riser bark?" My husband also said he noticed the energy was, and I quote, "weird that night." He didn't have the experience I had with being observed prior to the bangs, but he was awake slightly before they happened and said, "I don't know what that was," but agreed it was definitely a bang / large loud slap rather than any other sort of noise. After lying there pondering why our dog didn't bark when he barks at everything, and recalling the story I shared at dinner, to say I was bewildered would be putting it mildly. I didn't fall back to sleep that night. The other thing to note is that there is a motion / trail camera mounted with the motion light on the other side of our trailer, and it did not capture anything, even though something set off the motion light. I've since learned that Sasquatch can cloak animals and themselves, so this adds up. Since this experience, we have seen tree breaks on either side of the property, as if to claim our property is as also theirs, and have seen unidentifiable tracks in the snow up the logging road. The breaks happened recently, and I believe as the color and health of the trees are pretty good. I've also experienced more weird energy and different sounds / visuals while sleeping. Although we have not seen the typical Sasquatch figure, I intuitively feel a connection to these beings and feel like they are telepathically reading my thoughts, especially when it comes to them. I feel it's a father and a son, and from what you have shared on your show, it's mostly the adolescents who do the bangs, is it not? I want to believe these particular beings are benevolent, even though some of your viewer stories don't come across like that. For context, in these photos, I'm almost 6 feet tall, my husband is 6'2", so we're not tiny people, and we have 9 and 9.5 size boots. Photos linked. Our first physical proof of interacting with one of these beings. I call these hand-foot prints because it looks like both a hand and a foot. And they are placed right where we heard the bang in our trailer and taken a couple days after the experience. Second group of photos, taken November 28, 2024. These tree break photos are taken on either side of our property boundaries. The photos labeled me, first tree break, and first tree break near Cook Shack are the closest to the logging road, and this break is about 12 feet up from the ground. The bank slopes down on the other side. And the photos labeled game trail tree breaks 1 and 2, with multiple tree breaks, are taken at the other side of the property and appear to cross off a once active game trail. They are multi-directional, coming from the left and coming from the right, which boggles my husband's mind. These breaks don't look that old either. There was no snow on the ground prior to discovering these tree breaks, so that is why I believe we didn't find any noticeable tracks near them. Third photo was taken January 11th, 2025. I believe this is a handprint, as if the being was crouched down because of the obvious thumbprint. And if it's a human, mitt, which there are only maybe 4 people who walk up the logging road, lol, look how large it is. Or it could be a front print, but curious to see what you think as a hunter and knowing tracks. fourth group of photos taken January 7, 2025. We actually discovered these very clear, large footprint slash tracks the day before, but didn't have our camera. The second day we went up to take the pictures and the measurements, and the tracks have been covered by the brown stuff from the trees on the tracks, and the tracks were slightly distorted. I measured the tracks around 17 to 18 inches in length. My sorrels are in the picture. There are no lines or markings of boots, definitely heel and foot-like. Anyway, I'd appreciate your thoughts on these based on your own experience and what you shared from others. I won't be offended if you think they're not what I'm thinking they are. I do feel I have the opportunity to see more tracks and showcase them better after more snow has fallen. I may even be prepared to do a casting of one. Take care. Thanks for your support. Oh, 2 names there. I'll leave the names out. You said just use your first name, right? Freedom and Truth Speaker and Nature's Friend. All right, I gotcha. And I haven't looked at the pictures yet. I'm going to have to go back into my inbox and dig them out and take a look at it. I got links in the notes copied. All right, give me a minute. Okay, dug out the pictures. Now, the first picture, I believe, was the trailer picture, handprints. And you know what those look like to me? You know when you have a foggy window, and if you make your fist like this, and you can press your fist on the window, on the fog like that, and use your finger and go bing, 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 and it makes a perfect, like a baby footprint mark with your hand like that, and then touching. That reminded me of that. I'm not saying that's what it is, but kind of odd trying to piece together that print to a hand or a foot or whatever. So it's a weird one, right? Now the next one's a tree break. It does look green. That's hardwood, is it not? Oh, mate, no, it's not either. Huh. Yeah, what can you say about it, really, right? I mean, I'm not definitely not the tree break expert myself, but it's definitely green and it's broken. Could have been snow load. I don't know, maybe because here's the picture of you and the tree. I mean, all of the trees are bending that direction. All of them. And eventually they got to go. Could that have been snow? Could have. Or not. Who knows? A couple other ones broken. Same deal, right? I mean, everything seems to be broken or leaning to the right in that photo. I'm definitely not the tree detective, the tree break detective, but those would catch my eye if I was slipping through there in the timber hunting. More bent opposite directions, yeah. Now the handprint with your hand in there, it's so hard for me to say. I mean, I'm just not the. I don't think anybody is an expert in the photos, but could be. Just looking at the way that photo is, it could be anything. For me, not being there, not seeing. I mean, if there's a trackway, boom, 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 going along there, 100% tracks. That could be a track, could be a print, could be hand and a thumb. It could be a ball of snow that had fallen up the trees above. Footprint. That's a footprint. I can tell you right now, that's a footprint. That's not a ball of snow that fell on the ground from the tree above. That is a absolute solid heel print, the whole 9 yards, without a doubt. And there's another one I've just did. That'll be a footprint. It sounds like you already know what's going on around that property, right? Keep us posted. A shoe swap. There's a bunch of stuff gone on around there. This past couple of years, my friend who was sitting on the front porch of his cabin with me in a video a year ago or a couple years ago, he had a friend, him and his daughter, heard screams on the other side from Chase. Is that right, Chase? Yeah, shush. Yeah. He's in Sorrento. Other side of the lake from them is where there's a bunch of shit going on currently. I don't know if you're near there or not, but there you go. You got some solid prints. You got some solid shit going on, without a doubt. And you know you're not alone. Keep us updated. And just speak out loud to them, whatever you want them to do. Talk to them and tell them. You want them to leave you alone, leave your pets alone, just say flat out, leave me alone. And take it from there, or not, or do whatever you're going to do, but Be safe and keep us posted with future stuff if you want. Welcome to the club. This is titled Alaskan Experience with a cell number. Hi Steve, my name is, I hope you can, okay. My name is Skylar Lee and you can share my name. I'm a 34-year-old gold miner in Alaska. You've seen some shit. I think focused in properly, not that it matters. Looks like I got focus going on today. I've been mining for the past 3 years in various places throughout the state. The summer 2020, me and my girlfriend were out on a mining trip moving supplies to a new mine site 1.5 miles up Wolverine Creek, literally in the middle of nowhere. So, we're in camp for about 3 days, still moving equipment in. Tram, line and all, just like Gold Rush, Whitewater, but no bullshit drama. Oh, so just like the TV show you mean? Gold Rush, Whitewater, but no bullshit drama. Anyways, we're in camp in the evening, and I get that sense of fear that is so overpowering. I've worked outside my whole life, and I'm a country boy from Tennessee, and I've never just randomly got scared like that. So I start scanning the trees all around me because I feel like I'm being watched. I tell my girl about how I'm feeling, and then I see it. Up on a ridge above our camp, I see movement in the bushes. The only problem is that said bushes are head height tall, and I can see movement above them, about 4 feet above them. So now I'm shitting myself, thinking it's a big ass bear, but I never could see its face, and in my memory it's like it's blurred from my brain. That thing chased me and my girlfriend for an hour all the way back out. We'd hear it crashing through the woods and loud movement of something big. Now on another note, my girlfriend is Alaskan Inupiaq, aka Real Eskimo, and she's always believed in Bigfoot. Her people literally talk about him and teach him to their children in the villages. We watch you every day now, we watch you every day now, and no, we both question, typo. And now we both question if that was a Bigfoot. The only thing I can't shake is the fear that hit me for no reason while I was in there. Just plain scared. When you mentioned the fear thing, me and my girl just glanced at each other with that knowing look. They're real 100%, and the natives have always believed we're just catching up. Anyway, Steve, I want to thank you, and if you ever want to call me to talk about this, I'm game. That's my cell, and my government name is Skylar Lee. I believe you, and my gut tells me you're cool. I'd like to hear from you, or just hear this on the show. Thanks again. Okay, man, you got it. Shared. You know what it was. You know it wasn't a bear. We both know it wasn't a bear. I'll mark that as a look into. And I'm not going to be able to get a hold of anybody until we get home. So you've got time to ask around your neighborhood a little more too, and see what more you can dig up before we talk. All right? We'll talk about it. Dig up a little more if you can around your neighborhood. See if anybody else has got something that they want to share with you. And we'll talk about it, my man. All right? Appreciate that email. You know what you saw. I know what you saw. But why did it follow you out? Why do they do that? I don't know. All right, who's next? And the ocean's pretty loud out there. Some big cruncher waves ripping out there. You can hear in the background. Cloaked Family of Sabe is the title of this email. Hello, Steve. First, thank you, and my hat's off to you, brother, for your sustained and heartfelt commitment to helping those of us who are members of the Club of No Return. Some of us who've lived with a terrifying encounter for decades. I'm resending this email, which I originally sent in January this year, at the time to confirm for a subscriber who had seen a cloaked Sabe, I think his name was Zach, that I too had an up-close encounter with a family of these beings that were all cloaked. I've done my best to boil two of the most notable encounters I've had down to the basics. First, my background briefly. I'm 64, born and raised in North Seattle. Spent most of my younger life in the outdoors, camped and hiked the Washington and Oregon Cascades and Puget Sound area, the Olympic Peninsula, and Vancouver Island. I've had 3 what I consider to be close enough encounters, each one with other men present. Interestingly, none of them happened in Washington or BC. The first 2 were in Central Oregon, coastal woods. Both happened within 2 to 3 years back in the late 70s and early 80s. Although didn't actually see the perpetrators, the first 2 times heard and smelled them both times. Because when a 3 to 4 inch trunk or branch suddenly snaps off 20 to 30 feet outside of camp on a dark and windless night, you know it ain't no tree squirrel. No doubt. That's actually what one of the other 2 men present said when I asked nervously, "What do you think that was?" The second encounter, the game changer for me, happened May of '81, just a mile or 2 up a Forest Service road just south of the town of Yachats, Yachats, Oregon, which scared the living shit out of me and my friend John. I feel like we were being watched in the afternoon as we set up camp, pitching our tent, scouting around for firewood and having lunch, but brushed it off. Basically told my sixth sense to shut the F up. 24 years old, still young and dumb. We sat around our campfire after dark for a couple of hours, telling stories and just enjoying being outdoors. The uneasy feeling I'd felt that afternoon never really went away, and John was talking louder than usual, definitely much louder than necessary, as though he was nervous too, although would never admit it. Then, as we climbed into the tent, after snuffing the fire around 11 p.m., John says to me, while brandishing the last 2-inch thick piece of firewood and slapping it in his palm, "This is for the boogeyman." I thought, damn, he feels it too, but just headed for my bag and crawled in. Then, a rather disturbing thought popped into my mind, seemingly out of nowhere. Impending doom. I thought, what the F? Not exactly conducive to a good night's sleep, eh? Then about 1 a.m. I'm awakened by something breathing heavily and stomping bipedal by the sound of his footfalls into our camp, vibrating the ground as it approached and stopped right next to my side of the tent. I clearly remember thinking, what the hell just whizzed into our camp? Because it obviously didn't care if we heard it, and there was nothing stealth about its approach. Then total silence. And then I noticed the stink. Heavy, obnoxious, rotten, almost burning feces smell permeated the tent. We were both terrified, stiff, laying there in our bags, unable to talk, just staring at each other with big round eyes. It seemed like forever before we finally could both talk again. So, finally broke silence and started making evac plans, thinking what was our best move. Well, it was my car, so I got to exit the tent first. And it was pretty freaking creepy, I'll tell you what. I went straight for the car. Fortunately, we were just off a logging road about 60 feet away. We gathered everything up, and feeling like whatever it was just in the tree line watching us, about 10 to 15 feet from the tent, I just threw the tent in the back seat rather than taking the time to open the trunk, and we tore off out of there, chattering like a couple of monkeys, wondering out loud what it was, what we each thought, and that we had both felt something wasn't right the whole day in camp the previous day. We headed down the coastal highway, and being the driver, all I wanted to do was put as much distance as possible between us and whatever the hell had just scared me like never before. Well, 2 miles or so down the highway, we see a state park sign, and John insists we pull in right there for the night. I wasn't crazy about the idea because you could still smell the stench of this creature had left in the tent, which was in the back seat right behind us. But we quickly found a tent spot and stopped there for the night, both exhilarated and exhausted from the intense experience just less than an hour before. And being the first one up, I slept in the car with the door locked, and he slept in the stinky tent. I went to find the ranger and told him about our encounter the night before, and his first question was, "Did it stink?" And I laughed nervously and responded, "Yeah, come smell the tent." I confirmed that Just 2 weeks previous, some teenagers were out behind their house near a creek and had heard heavy bipedal footsteps and a stink, and that they all freaked, ran back in the house and reported it to law enforcement. And that's all I needed to hear. I knew that I had now had an encounter with the elusive Sasquatch. I still remember that day like it was yesterday. We all do. All of us. Every time, right? Deciding we wanted to get some pictures with my camera, we went back up there the next morning. And it felt like The Outer Limits, if anybody remembers that TV show. I still have the old Polaroids of long, deep footprints right next to where our tent had been the night before. Fresh trail with toe prints coming into and leaving the campsite through the woods on 2 sides. And a couple snapshots where the Sabe had walked up onto an old pile of dirt, presumably from an old logging operation in that area, and taken a big dump. No shit. No way. I walked over to the tree line where I sensed this thing had exited the scene and watched our departure the night before. And I had walked up to the evening before to pee and saw a portion of a decomposed deer carcass under the lower boughs of the tree with brush all flattened out. It sent shivers up my spine just seeing that blatant type of sign. So told John, let's get the hell out of here, and he didn't argue. In retrospect, thanks to you, Steve, and all the good people here at the Round Table of Knowledge who have shared on this channel over the last couple of years, I now know we had disturbed the Sabe's home, or at the very least, a stored meal/sleep spot. Encounter 2, a family of cloaked Sabe. Now the latest encounter, which happened in May of 2019, location omitted, the cloaked appearance of a family of 4 Bigfoot, where my host, a First Nations man, took 2 other men and myself to a location on his reservation in the middle of the night to hopefully see them. I'll get to that in just a second. I had been terrified of the deep woods since those earlier days in Oregon back in 1981, and so requested his assistance in helping me to come to grips with what had scared me decades earlier, and hopefully regain my confidence in the woods again. So, call me crazy, but I asked for it. I wanted to see these people just to confirm what I knew to exist, but still had not seen. And after some preparation as a group and a brief language tutoring and clear understanding that none of us would carry a light camera, phone, or weapon, we 4 ventured by SUV to a spot rather deep in the thicket of forest on his reservation, taking the only dirt road there. And this is where it got wild for me, and it's about 1:30 a.m. As soon as we turned onto a narrower road and started down into like a holler, I hear a loud crack, tree against tree, outside my backseat window, which was open about an inch for air. And honestly, it was like suddenly it all got real for me and my senses are on high alert. 3 to 4 minutes later, we pull into what seems like a small turnaround and park. We got out and walked shoulder to shoulder through some small brush and into a clearing with long grass. Our host then said a prayer, asking the Sabe to please show itself to us in the name of Jesus Christ. And this is exactly as it occurred. I swear upon everything I hold dear and sacred. Our host had instructed us to each say a greeting to the Sabe in his tribe's dialect, and then anything further we had in our hearts. Then it went full predator, very similar to Saran wrap. Suddenly, 2 very large silhouettes appeared and the grass started shimmering. Like a light wind or electrical current was blowing down at foot level. It was like the whole area suddenly became charged with electricity, like right before a lightning storm. Then I noticed the eyes of the 2 large ones were glowing, and then suddenly saw there were 2 juveniles. And since it was middle of the night and pitch black, my best guess is that they stood about 10 to 12 feet, or at furthest 15 feet away from us. Can only guess to the height, but I would estimate the largest adult was 9 to 10 feet tall, and the youngest juvenile about 5 to 6 feet. Each one of the four Sabe were only barely visible, but at that same time, I have never felt more vulnerable in my life. Not threatened or in danger, but most definitely vulnerable. My perception was/is that they are plugged into nature's electromagnetic grid. Some call it ether or acacia. Acacia? In some way, perhaps naturally. Maybe that's related to why trail cam and phone batteries drain quickly when in the vicinity of these people. I don't know, but it's certainly something to ponder. My host spoke first and they listened. He motioned for me to speak and I greeted them saying, "Hello, friend," in my host's tribal language, and then, in English, said what came to mind, which amounted to, I became aware of them in another part of the country. I wanted them to know that I will always walk among them or their people with humility and respect, and then thanked them. We each spoke our piece, then our host thanked them, and we left. He then took us to his tribe's ancestral and current prayer ground. Well said prayers and gave thanks for the encounter and getting our asses out of there safely, and returned to our respective cabins for the night. And I was surprised how quickly I fell asleep as my mind was going nonstop, but slept like a baby. The four of us will always share that very profound and almost supernatural experience, but perhaps best of all for me is that now I'm becoming more comfortable being in the woods again, much more alert, knowledgeable, and respectful to be sure, not least from the incredible people on this channel and the experience, truth, and knowledge getting passed around between us through you, Steve. I hope this helps anyone else who may have had similar encounters, and speaking for myself, we've come a long way in a short period of time. When this first happened a little over 2 years ago, I was pretty careful about to whom and how I shared the story. So, every one of these stories helps me too. All gratitude and respect. Now, I don't know, did you say your name? I hate that when I do that, but what do? Come terms, send email. I don't think, okay, well, I'll use your first name, all right? Your first name. Randall. Randall, appreciate you, man. That's one hell of a frickin' story and experience. Wow. And to think how many other people go years of intently trying to get to where you got taken, basically your hand held and taken right to them. And they oblige just like that. You can make a lot of people jealous out there, right? Now, the cloaked thing. The cloaked thing. Just like out of the movie The Predator. You know, I was just telling Sarah about the guy's experience in Angola where the insurgents were getting killed by something in that swamp, and they both had seen that cloaked-like, predator-like being. Big. Wouldn't you like to grill the original writer of the movie The Predator? Right? Man, the amount of shit that goes down in movie world, in Hollywood, that's true later in life. Man, I had some friends over the years ago who were absolute Star Trek fans. And they all were telling me all the things in Star Trek, it's all true. Everything they did on Star Trek came true later in life. Every single thing. Right? What a shit show. Right? Seriously, what a shit show. What a shit show this lifetime is. I'm done reading emails. We got to get moving here in a little bit, but that's it for the emails for today. I was thinking about it earlier, you know, as we watch what's going down in the world today, both, you know, especially politically. You watch how easy it is to sway the thoughts of a group of human beings. Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing how easy it is to get people to act like complete asses? And back it up and get emotionally connected to it and go with it at all costs, no matter how ridiculous it is. It's really alarming, right? It's really alarming. Really alarming. And I guess that's why only a small handful of people own all the media, the mainstream media, right? Because of how powerful it is. Because using all of that can persuade the majority of the human herd to follow the command, no matter how absolute insane it is. Maybe I'm rambling and probably not making any sense. Anyway, I'm gonna get ripping. I got a lot to say, but I think I need more energy to say it. I don't know why. I'm kind of lower in energy right now. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I need a nap or something. I don't know. Probably been overdoing it, but I'll come back tomorrow and I'm gonna drop a few thoughts on what's going on the planet. And some emails. All right? Share my story at howtohunt.com. Get me that truth. Get me that truth. Get it off your chest. Or, I don't give a shit. If it's not me, somebody else. Just get it out there and get it public, all right? It's important. Even if you don't think it's important, it's important. I'll be back tomorrow.
All right, I think we got our fourth double of the morning.
Yep.
Let's see yours. Oh, it's a big one too, eh? On the live squid. I got one over here on the live squid. Having a clue what it is. We'll know in a second.